Streamlabs OBS, which I just found out is apparently not the greatest company on the face of the planet, thanks to Danielle Freak, who you should go follow on Twitch. He's a pretty chill gamer he's an older guy who's making his way in this streaming world. He really is. He's dominating the game. I've tuned into many of his streams where he's got thousands of people watching him play, and he still finds time to talk to pretty much anybody who writes to him, so it's pretty dope. I am sending out tweets. I figured out a semi-system to work on this, to be able to get these tweets out in a reasonable amount of time. We do have a new rankings format in the sense that, well, there's very few couples left, and organizing it by the top and the bottoms. While a very good joke, very good joke, let's be for real, great joke. It is still something that does not necessarily fit what's going on. Working on it. Sorry, trying to work on something here. There we go. Looking for a Twitter account. It's hard to think and talk at the same time, believe it or not. Especially considering that I talk so very much. I think I spelled Michelle's name wrong multiple times while doing this stream. Anyway, season 38. Need to get rid of a character. There we go. Twitter bomb. You guys remember those? Twitter bombs. That's where you use every single character. It's a nerd thing. So yeah, we're talking episode 6 here in a second. As soon as I finish getting all the social media stuff tweeted out, which should be done here in a couple of seconds. We'll play the theme song and get the show popping, because we actually got a shit ton of stuff to talk about. I feel like things have gone completely sideways for one group of people, and believe it or not, it's not who you think it is. Oh, wow. Somehow. Oh, look at that. Jong. Former boss of mine. Shout out to the legend. Follow him on Twitter at onepunch__. All right. So we already got a tweet in we got a response just off the show tweet alone. This is Jong Chi. The legend himself. Jong used to be the head honcho over at ESPN 97.5, and he's got an adorable daughter, and he's still out here kicking ass in life in general. He responded with, they've been incredibly annoying, LOL. If they know how to play the game, then it wouldn't be as bad. So we're going to talk about that, because your boy has a theory that may or may not. There's a huge chunk of people that absolutely fucking hate them, and we're going to talk about it. So I think we got all the tweets out, and we got stuff to talk about here. We're good. Are we? Let me check my profile. By the way, in case you're wondering where I'm tweeting from, it's from every single Twitter profile that I have, which, by the way, very proud to say we're over 1,000 followers. Oh, also, I would be remiss if I didn't start off the show by giving a shout out to the newest member of the Safe Crackers, which is the name that I've given the group that's gonna eventually become the most dominant Twitch community, really most dominant fan base on the planet, probably. I am ex Hurricane Pride X. I went and looked up his name on Twitch. He's a COD Twitch player, so you go check him out, watch him play some Warzone. I actually don't know if he's actually good or not, but he did subscribe while I was offline, which, by the way, happens so ridiculously often. And quite frankly, out of all the things that could happen for your boy, a lot of good things happen to me when it comes to this Twitch thing, but people who subscribe offline, they don't get the full effect of all the wild shit that goes down when you subscribe online. Anyway, we've got Twitch open. We've got people in the chat. We've got YouTube open because, you know, your boy is live on YouTube as well. We simulcast on YouTube for this episode. Everything's popping off. So if you want to write comments in either one of those, I will see them eventually. I know I go to the Twitch creator dashboard way more often than I do the than I do just the raw YouTube stream. But I appreciate anybody who listens and watches, because quite frankly, you know, we all know what our goal is. We're trying to get to affiliate, and that means that we need to average 3 people in the stream on a regular basis, which we're going to do. We're going to make that happen. Don't worry about it, baby. Don't worry about it. I believe in us. I believe in me. more importantly. And I believe in you, the fans out there who like to hear me ramble into a microphone very often, which is something that I honestly don't understand why, but I do appreciate. Let's get it popping, though. Let's get the theme song on. Let's get the show cooking. And get to what Jong is actually talking about and what he's in reference to. And we'll get that going right now. 3, 2, 1. What it do? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the challenge-only episode of the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. We do this one I try to do it Monday so that I have an entire day to put it out on Twitter and stuff like that, but because we are, life is going on and I'm applying for 1 billion jobs a day, and I'm also trying to fix something on my car. Even though my car isn't broken, it can't pass inspection because of a stupid valve. That costs quite a bit of money, which, is very common amongst all cars. Anyway, it's actually super annoying. It's become the bane of my very existence the last week and something. But it's super annoying to me personally. Anyway, let's get it popping. We got a lot of stuff to talk about for this episode. Obviously, episode 6 is the name of the episode, and it is it is come Michelle or High Water is the name of the episode, in a very, very, very obviously blatant movie reference to, you guessed it, Come Hell or High Water, for episode 6 out of season 38 of the Ride or Die series here. Ride or Dies, my bad, I gotta say it right. I'm sure there's some trademark on Ride or Die, and that's why it's called Ride or Dies this season. Plot of I should have been doing this throughout the course of the season, but I just thought of what if people have never seen the movie that's being referenced in the show title. I got a brief summary of what's going on, and it's actually pretty spot on, because obviously the producers aren't just picking these names because they match or whatever. A divorced father and his ex-con older brother resort to a desperate scheme in order to save their family's ranch in West Texas. They start robbing banks. Plot twist. So there it is. Let's go to our number one part. If this is your first time being here for the challenge episode, we do this part where the whole episode is broken up into these different parts that start with the. And the first one is the arrival. So this is after the elimination has gone down, which has been the format for the past 2 episodes, where they show the following episode shows people coming back into the house, which is going to be terrible because it means we're probably inching closer and closer to the episode where they cut it off mid-elimination, which is the worst episode every single season. I absolutely hate that level of a cliffhanger. I totally get not showing the reactions of people after, not showing the aftermath of the elimination, but the worst thing you could possibly do to a fandom is give a massive cliffhanger like that. I feel like there's just certain limits. I feel like there should be limits on what you can do in terms of where you cut the episode off, because that borders, to me, on bad TV. Is it going to guarantee that people come back? I mean, I'm a challenge fan, so I'm just going to come back next episode anyway, right? But for new people who are just tuning in, just hopping into the show, that can be super annoying. I know it was super annoying for me when I was watching the recaps. I had the ability to watch every single episode in whatever order I wanted to, and that was easily it's easily one of the most annoying things that the show does almost every single season. Anyway, the arrival. Here's the breakdown of what's going down inside the house. There is officially one rookie pair left. The vets are winning. The revolution, although took a step in the right direction, has not come to full fruition yet. There is one rookie pair left, and it is Kim and Colleen. There are 5 vet pairs left, and I'm not listing all the names left. But yeah, the vets are overwhelmingly the presence in the house. So there's 10 vets left, and there's 6 overall rookies left. But out of those 6 rookies, there's 7 rookies left compared to the 10 vets. But the 5 rookies that are in the mixed vet-rookie pairs are siding with the vets, 100%. They're siding with the Veteran Alliance because of the connections that those people have on the show. Laurel and Jack survived elimination, which if you paid attention to last episode or came here and checked out the recap of everything that happened, you know that was by the hair of their chinny chin chins. And it's a thing that happens on a regular basis. I will say one of the things that disappoints me the most is when the challenge doesn't 100% of the time let people know, let you know what order or what place people finished on different daily challenges. I think there was big value in that because I think it helps inform the crowd or inform the group as to who's doing well, as opposed to letting them leave it up to their theories and speculations and stuff like that. But anyway, we'll talk about why that wasn't possible for this daily when we get to it. Laurel and Jack survive elimination, completing Jay and Michelle's run of probably the worst power move of the entire season. They had a targeted pair, which one of the two is supposed to be a person that they were relatively close to. They went with Laurel and Jack because Michelle just disliked Laurel or didn't trust Laurel that much to the point where she became the primary target, even though Laurel has never or has not had power in the house. That's not to say that she can't sway the people who do have power. The vets do grab some, but there are very clearly other people in the house that are bigger threats to Jay and Laurel, to Jay and Michelle's existence in the house. In particular, the people who have set Jay up for elimination a multitude of times. Like, Jay legitimately is in the top 20 in eliminations already 3 seasons into his challenge career, because he had one season where he went into 3 consecutive elimination rounds, and probably if he had come back in his third one, he was going to have to face another elimination, and it would have bolstered his career even more. He's currently 2-2 in eliminations because he won 2 out of the 3, obviously, and then the following season, the first time he went into elimination, he went up against Leroy, and I think it was like a hanging competition where you like hang from a bar and you're trying to push plexiglass into your opponent to knock them off the bar, and Leroy just hung onto the bar longer than Jay could and waited for Jay to tire out because he was using all of his energy to push the glass into Leroy's body. Leroy's stronger than him. Jay didn't have enough power to push the glass hard enough to knock him off the bar, and so it was him wasting his energy. And it could have been turned into a hanging competition, but it did not. Anyway, Jay goes home off of that, if I recall correctly. Other stuff that has gone on in the house. Laurel, shocked after she gets back from elimination, shocked, absolutely dismayed that she was the target. If people are to believe that what Laurel says, which you shouldn't because she's been lying, she all but admitted it after elimination, she doesn't have any alliances. She clearly does. She's in the Vet Alliance. She may not be high up in the Vet Alliance, but she is a part of the veterans who have agreed that if anybody is going to win the money, it is going to be somebody who's been on the show and put their dues in, the people who are clever enough to be able to win the daily challenges on a regular basis. And also, Jack is really playing up how offended and hurt he was by Jay putting him into elimination, which is probably a good move for him to be able to try and come back for next season. I think there's some people on the challenge Reddit who might be staunchly against him coming back based off performance, but I think it's safe to say Jack has made his mark on this season in terms of not only the absolutely amazing shirt he wore the first episode, but trying to throw Kim and Colleen under the bus and basically make them the go-to name for elimination immediately, and then try to sow deceit. Like, he tried to lie multiple times, not only in this episode later on, but in previous episodes on other challengers. So I find that pretty impressive. I'm sure that's going to get him to come back, especially since he was able to tell all those lies without getting in trouble with the vets. So, that he has some aggressive name calling that he continues to throw out there. I think he calls Jay, they bleep it out, but it sounds like he calls him a snake rat bitch or something like that multiple times. But yeah, aggressive name calling is what we're going to call it. We progress on through that. Laurel reveals after she barely survives the elimination because they were able to win the challenge puzzle that got Kim and Colleen eliminated by one puzzle piece facing the wrong direction in their luck and in their stance. And Horacio and Laurel apparently are on the outs in this situation. Horacio's got a lady that he's been talking to. Remember, they usually don't show this until later in the season, but if you're new to the challenge, you have a phone. Like, these people are not completely cut off from their family members, especially considering some of them have children that they have to look after. they have the ability to call people who are in their family, I think almost daily or something like that. They record those obviously for purposes, because there's always a person in every single season of the challenge that's out there doing it for their kids. This year it's Darrell, who obviously he got 3 girls. I understand why he need the money. I really do. He needs that money, and anybody that got 3 kids needs as much money as they could possibly get. So if hanging from some zip lines and dealing with some people that you're not necessarily cool with, did our stream just die? No. Did it? I'm looking at, let me see this. Am I bugging? I think I am. Hold on. That's weird. Still live on YouTube, but apparently, wait, I think I'm looking at the wrong Twitch stream, even though there should only be one that I'm looking at. All right, that's weird. That was weird. Anyway, going back to Darrell and needing that money. I'm kidding. Horacio and Laurel are on the outs with each other. Laurel has moved out of Horacio's room, which in the challenge house is a massive deal for people in general, because who you sleep in a room with is a way, like legitimately you saw earlier in the season where like Fessy didn't want to put Kim down into elimination because they sleep in the same room. That who you sleep in the same room with actually says a lot about, 1, who your alliance is, and then 2, the people that you talk to on a regular basis about things that are going on. Also can be a tool for you to piss people off, because if you understand how the challenge works, when you sleep in the same room as people, some people, I would dare say all these people who are on the show, because I don't think there's anybody who's married on the show anymore, except Darrell. Everybody else has like significant others or whatever, but for the most part, there's an aspect of these people's lives where they sleep by themselves or with one other person. And there's a big difference between sleeping with one other person and 4 other people in the room. And there have been seasons where they've had bunk beds for grown-ass men and women. And this is one of those seasons, right? Like, that's always, it's an aspect of the house, and it aggravates people. It is a way that certain people endear themselves to each other. It is a way that other people wear other human beings down. It is, I'm pretty sure, an aspect of what got people pissed off at Turbo. Even though he wasn't necessarily going at every single person, but the fact of the matter is, he caused a lot of drama and a lot of problems inside the house, and the house is already stressful enough as it is. They do not want to deal with a person who's annoying. Like, they don't want to go into their room where they're sleeping and deal with the most annoying person in the house, right? That's a big factor. But yeah, they don't sleep in the same room anymore. It looked like they had gotten to the point where everybody who was sleeping in their room had been eliminated, so it was just the 2 of them. And she left in the middle of the night, citing, and I say citing as if she's like officially filing divorce papers. I'm going to sleep in another bunk bed. Anyway, she says, I don't want to get hurt again, because she thinks Horacio, like her continuing to hang out with Horacio would be her being close to someone that she wants but can't have, which is understandably heartbreaking for a lot of people. If you've ever been a guy who's been friends with a girl that you really are romantically interested or gained romantic feelings for, this is the exact same situation, except, no, it's the exact same situation essentially. But yeah, Horacio, to his credit, although very late, was upfront about the fact that he's seeing and talking to somebody else. It also is very weird to me that he thinks that they were friends. Like, he tries to, and that seems like an attempt to, oh man, we were tap dancing back and forth, and then I had a phone conversation with this lady that I'm into, and she hinted that we could be together when we get back or whatever, because she misses me now and enjoys having me around, right? And realizes what it's like to not have me. And so she's confessed her feelings for me, and now I don't need to be trying to hit on Laurel, because that would be messed up, right? Horacio seems like a nice guy. Problem is, he's too sexy. That's his problem. But yeah, he has the biggest issue of being sexy, being nice, and having a lot of ladies going after him on a regular basis, I would imagine. And Laurel seems like she is one of, I'm assuming, many of Horacio's latest victims in terms of this nice guy showing interest, being close to, being connected to a person, and then it not working out. It doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen. Who knows what will happen as time goes on if Horacio stays in the house. I will say it's it's something to look out for in terms of like understanding. Olivia, who, by the way, subtly kind of like, she kind of guided this episode along. She was talking to Laurel. She talked to Horacio. And it, by the way, looks like Olivia is a little bit more than just boobs and big lips and blonde hair. She out here talking to everybody. It seems like everybody's kind of cool with Olivia, even the vets. And it also says a lot that Horacio and Olivia are the final rookie pair left standing. They have not been in drastic positions of power. They have been very good competitors throughout the course of this entire challenge, and it seems like you'd be better off befriending them than being against them, which is a choice I think some of the vets are reconsidering whether or not they're against Horacio and Laurel or Horacio and Olivia, because they've proven themselves to be deadly on almost every single occasion in this season. Not feeling, by the way, all of this triggers what I want to say House Madness, but I need to come up with a better name for it. Houseoenza. It is the sickness that seeps into people's brains from being inside the challenge house, where you're constantly under pressure from the daily challenge. You're working out on a regular basis. You're dealing with and if you are not a person who grew up with a bunch of siblings or grew up in a house with a lot of people, it's got to be annoying to never be in a room by yourself, and also having to like generate television by having conversations that aren't necessarily 100% genuine in terms of like how you talk, but then also having to try and figure out how to position yourself in this game. Also trying to figure out who you do and do not trust throughout it, because who you start off trusting and who you don't trust, those are constantly moving equations that you need to be gathering data on all the time, right? The biggest thing that I can see for Laurel, one, she's now understood to be a target for a group of people in the house, which has got to be a first for her. It's coming out of left field because she's just like, I haven't won anything. Why are you going for me instead of all the people who have actually done you wrong throughout the course of this game? Which is a great question to ask. Laurel also follows up with the fact that the one person that she probably liked to look at a lot of, hug, hold, all that kind of stuff like that, isn't an alliance with the people who are going against her, right? And clearly don't have the sway to be able to stop them from going against her and trying to put her into elimination. Now that person has seemingly betrayed her. So it comes off like this whole avalanche of horrible things instantaneously coming at Laurel and coming at Jack as well. It probably doesn't hit Jack as hard because he's a rookie, and so he doesn't have connections with these people. Laurel is essentially a rookie in the sense that like she only really knows the vets, like these newer people, she doesn't really know them all that well. Anyway, that is a big factor in everything that's going on, and plays a big factor in how Laurel, one, reacts to what happens in this episode, and how her mental state is something that is clearly up for question due to how arduous it is being on the challenge. She does not feel safe, and not feeling safe makes everything difficult. Sleeping, eating food, going to the bathroom, talking to people like human beings. I will point out, we got a huge occasion. We've got back-to-back episodes with the Fall Out Boy song. So they played Young and Menace, which is one of their newer songs. So the Fall Out Boy song count has risen to 2. One of the new songs that goes fast and really hard, and it's a song about living your life too fast, that you've lived multiple lifetimes in a short period of time, which very much seems like the time in the challenge. It ages you and wears you down rather quickly, based off of what I can tell. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the daily. The daily challenge for this week was called Down the Line, and I'm going to try and summarize it as quickly as possible without getting too much into the minutia. I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Your two partners, everybody starts on the same starting line. You're all running to a spot that they have pre-dug out. You dig up 2 bags. One of the bags is dug pretty shallow. Once you dig out the first bag, your partner takes the first bag, runs to another station that's further down the way, closer to the water, right in front of the water. That person runs with the bag. The second bag is significantly deeper into the ground, and you don't necessarily 100% know where it is. It is very clear that there was like a question of like where the bag is located for a lot of people and whether or not they were digging in the right spot. That was a big question, but the production team did do a good job of marking the location as to where you're supposed to start digging in the area that it's supposed to be in. This is done in 2 heats, by the way. The partner with the first bag is running to the station that's right by the water. It's called the crank station. It's called the crank station because there's a hand crank, very much how, just imagine like bike pedals in a gearbox, and your hands are on it, and you're just kind of running your hands like this in a circle. It moves a buoy that's on a zip line further down the line. Get it? Down the line for your partner who's still digging up bag number 2 to bring the second bag, get on a zip line that goes over a small section of a lake that is in Argentina. They fall into the water when they get to the end of the zip line, and then they swim to the puzzle solving station that is on a platform on the water, right? It's important to note that you can only go as far as your partner has cranked the buoy. Most teams crank the buoy all the way to its maximum length, which puts you, I think, maybe 15 feet away from the puzzle solving station, so not that long of a swim. But yeah, it's important that, one, you find the second bag, because there was some teams that didn't even get past the finding the second bag part. But yeah, partner number 2 cranks the buoy further down the line. Partner number 1 is digging up the second bag. When they get the second bag, they run. They get hooked up to a zip line down to the other puzzle station. The puzzle station, you open up the 2 bags that you have. They have a bunch of letters. Those letters make words. Who would have thought? Words that are associated with friendship. That is a big factor in this. And there's something that's a little sketchy that kind of comes up later on. And you actually can tell me what you think about it on Twitter at FB_playbook. Hit me up at the Ashton J as well. Or hit me up on Instagram at the Ashton Forever. Or on TikTok when I post one of the clips. Probably that clip about Horacio being sexy and the life and the struggles of a sexy person on the challenge. Anyway, any space that you don't take up by moving the buoy further down the line, your partner has to swim. Common sense, right? The word puzzle is to win the thing. So in the first heat, Devin gets to the platform first to solve the puzzle. Johnny is second with Nani. They kind of implode while they're on the platform. Nani is in charge of solving the words out, and Johnny's kind of, I don't know if he's supposed to be like sitting by quietly, but he's definitely just heckling Nani, and she starts to snap at him. They have a major issue. Johnny kind of plays it up a little bit. Nani hits Johnny multiple times and calls him an idiot, because he's saying stuff like, do you know what a vowel is? A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, and she's saying shut the fuck up the whole time. Anyway, she gets super annoyed and continues to berate him instead of trying to solve the words that are on the board. As you can imagine, that's not great. Johnny talks about how, oh man, this is really tough for us to be imploding while we're on this platform in front of the other team. I would also like to point out, Johnny probably thinks that he's safe no matter who ends up with the bag or who ends up winning the challenge, even if they're not in his alliance. So he actually can fuck around on this challenge and create a moment that ended up being the key point of the preview for the next episode and a big point of emphasis later on in it, because they had to have a conversation about how to be good teammates, which you would think on a season called Ride or Dies, it's going to be a lot of those conversations. So it's no harm, no foul, especially if you actually friends. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, Jay and Michelle arrived third based off the way that the edit was shown to the solving platform. They have multiple words that are solved out. By the way, Tori and Devin do. Tori and Devin start off this challenge by talking about it's a puzzle. Gotta lock it in, gotta lock this one up, gotta clinch it up, all that kind of stuff like that, thinking that they have to come up and finish this one. They do. They really do have to go out there, and Devin in particular gotta keep the Puzzle King title, right? So you gotta go out here, and I wouldn't say Wordle is necessarily a Puzzle King type of thing, but yeah, it is a puzzle, and it is a way for Devin to use his big brain to get an edge against all these opponents. Laurel's week gets a lot worse. She gets assigned between Jack and Laurel. For some reason, they decide for Laurel to do the most mentally and probably physically taxing part of this entire challenge, where they have Laurel dig for the second bag between both. Maybe it's because she's the stronger swimmer or something like that, but they have her dig for the second bag, which between both of the heats looked like it was the most mentally exhausting part of this entire thing, even more exhausting than figuring out the words with the letters and stuff like that, because the bag digging part you have to do by yourself no matter what, right? Like, you have to do by yourself. The word puzzle part, you have your partner to help you out. And seeing people leave, like, second by second or minute by minute is even, like, that's the really debilitating part. And it comes off like you're losing. It is a direct sign of, like, direct correlation of you're losing every single time somebody gets an edge over you by getting a couple of seconds or even a couple of minutes in the case of Laurel and Jack to get over to the puzzle solving station and get ahead of you, right? That wears down Laurel, who we've already discussed is going through a lot. She's just come out of elimination. She just lost her sexy roommate. You know what I mean? She's going through a lot. And this part of the challenge, for her to be selected for it, is very interesting. I understand that she's one of the greatest competitors, regardless of gender, on the history of this show. But, you know, Jack is a personal trainer, and he basically had to go run and do a hand crank thing, right? Didn't seem like, you know, whatever. Anyway, I don't know what to make out of that situation. That was an interesting choice to put that on Laurel, but she is the more experienced out of the two of them. I did say it looked like her hand was bleeding or her nails were bleeding from all the digging that she was doing, so that was interesting as well. Heat number 1 is won by the team that showed up third to the platform, Jay and Michelle, for the simple fact that Jay apparently has a Spanish heritage. Jay has a Spanish heritage, and I will also point out the people who win heat number 2 just so happen to have one of the few Latin-born, I would say Hispanic or Latinx player. I do not know where he's from, but he's from El Paso, Texas. And they win because Jay sees the letters M-I-G-O-A and comes up to understand it's amigo as the final word for the word puzzle, while Bananas and Nani and Tori and Devin, 4 white people, I think Nani is white. Anyway, 4 white people on the platform never pieced together amigo. And that's totally understandable. And, oh, by the way, one thing that was really strange, tell me what you think of this as well on Twitter. Michelle, when she gives the bag, because Michelle gets assigned to dig the second bag out, so she's digging the first one out, gives it to Jay. Jay runs to the crank thing, cranks it, all that kind of stuff like that. Maybe it's because Michelle's the stronger swimmer, but they do that, and Michelle says, "I love you," as Jay is running away. It's very interesting. Real friends, right? So yeah, Jay and Michelle win heat number 1. Heat number 2 gets underway. Amber and Chauncey are the first to get the first bag out of the ground. So Chauncey runs to do the crank thing. I think this is a product of the fact that Chauncey is afraid of heights. I don't know how good his swimming is. We didn't get a chance to see it really very much in the Royal Relay one where they had the boat and had to swim to the buoy and stuff like that. But they did it. They did it until they sunk their boat, right? But yeah, Chauncey gets assigned to do the hand crank thing, and Amber, who is a good runner, we know that. People were targeting her in the challenge that she won specifically because she is one of the best runners on the lady side and probably on the guy side too when it's all said and done. Anyway, Chauncey gets to the hand crank thing. Horacio and Nelson get to the puzzle station first. Notice that, so it was a little struggle. The ultimate I told you so moment for Darrell happens at the puzzle station once they get there. He pops up and he figures out almost instantly that one of the words is amigo, and then Veronica tells him, no, it can't be that. It would not be in another language. As we know, amigo is on the board, and it's actually the last word that Horacio and Olivia put together to win heat number 2. How do you feel about amigo, a word being in another language, being like required information for you as a challenge competitor to know to be able to succeed? That's my question. I would find it a little tough. I personally would find it a little tough, even though, I'm be honest with you, amigo is like kind of a little bit obvious once you know it, right? Amigo is an obvious word that most people know. Even, I'll say this much. This is how you know amigo is such a common word. It is the go-to word for black people who are trying to connect with people who do not speak English. It is the go-to word that I've heard used. It's not a slur or anything like that, but it's definitely a way to show prejudice towards Hispanic and Latinx people when people are trying to like talk down to people who do not speak English. They're like, hey, hold on, amigo. They don't know their name kind of deal. Yeah, it is that go-to word. It's that common of a word that shitty people who know no Spanish know amigo. So it's a little tough for me to sit here and be like, oh, that's kind of bullshit that they put that in the challenge or whatever. But it is a show called The Challenge, ladies and gentlemen. What else do you really expect? Let's move on. Let's talk about the daily. We broke down the daily. So we know two things happen. We know Jay and Michelle won heat number 1. Horacio and Olivia won heat number 2. And we also need to talk about why this was actually a challenge in general. This was a challenge of hustle. There wasn't very much like physical exhaustion kind of stuff going on. This is all upper body testing, right? Like digging a hole is difficult for some people. It takes a lot of core muscle, especially considering some of those holes were like knee deep for people to find their other bag. Some people don't know how to dig an organized hole, which is actually a thing, how to figure out how to dig a circle as opposed to like digging a slight angle or a slight trench down the left-hand side or a slight trench down the right and missing the whole thing. Digging a circle is a big deal. The other aspect of it is the mental fortitude that we mentioned before to be the person that's digging for the second bag and seeing other people run away. Because based off of the edit, nobody who got to the puzzle location first figured it out and won. Based off what we know from the edit, not even Horacio looked like he was like second place or like neck and neck with Nelson. So I guess you could say they were first and second, but it was not the first person who got to the puzzle that figured it out. It was the person who was able to put together the mental focus to accelerate their thinking and put together the words as fast as possible and maybe cheat a little bit, because I don't think those boards were covered very well, especially when you're coming out of the water and climbing up. I think you can see what other people are putting out. And I'm also assuming that there is a certain collection of Alliance members that were definitely passing words back and forth to each other, especially this late in the game. You're going to do whatever it takes to make sure your Alliance wins, knowing what's at stake. And if you understand how the Alliances are set up, you know, it's kind of split down the middle inside the house right now. A little bit. Anyway, that's what I got on this one. Mental fortitude to keep digging and keep focus, even though you're not in the lead, which is always a discouraging thing for people who are, in the case of the challenge, who have always been front runners. A lot of these people have been vastly successful at their lives, which is why it's always impressive when guys like Kyle show up. Because if you listen to Kyle, he talks about how he's been a loser like his whole life. Like he's had like ups and downs. He's had problems with the law. He's had situations where he's been a bad person and admitted up to it. And he is the grimiest dude on the challenge. And that's why his ass is so hard to eliminate. That's why he's got one of the best records in what many would consider to be a solely strength-based elimination in pole wrestling. He is grimy to the core, and he's willing to grind it out as much as he possibly can, even when his back is up against the wall. Everybody knows that is when Kyle is at his absolute worst in this show. So, that being said, mental fortitude, hustle. Two of those things, two things that are very difficult to obtain, to be honest with you, as an athlete in general, and in particular just like in life, which, by the way, it's kind of funny that the challenge is selling a book on life. I cannot lie. I have not contemplated buying it, not 1 second, even though it would support some people that I do like. One thing I do like about the challenge is there's nobody who's solely actually a good person. That I enjoy the most, because everybody's got something that you can use to root against them. But moving on in our lives, let's talk about who won. Back to back, ladies and gentlemen. Jay and Michelle win the daily challenge. The vets on the show have now won 5 of the 6 daily challenges. Horacio and Olivia have finished in second place, I want to say twice now, based off of the way the heats were set up. They won heat number 2, but they didn't say how much they lost by. Typically, when it's really close, they say something. When it's not, they don't. But yeah, Jay and Michelle win. Shocking Michelle, of all people, which, if that tells you anything, we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Later on. There are 4 straight rookie pairs that have been sent home. Jay and Michelle's known alliance right now is Olivia and Horacio and maybe Amber and Chauncey. We'll see. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. But yeah, like I said, this is not a version of the challenge where your alliance can be big. This is not a version of the challenge where your alliance can be large. I will point out, I still believe there is another twist coming that allows you to change who your partner is, which is a perfect way now, with everybody bottlenecked in terms of who can be on whose side, because there are alliances within the bigger alliances, as there always are. But if you're stealing somebody's partner, alliance may be off a lot faster than a lot of people think. It'll also incentivize all these vets who have a very, very elaborate history of sometimes throwing challenges they have a history of throwing challenges in like very obvious ways. They also have a desire to help each other win, or help each other as much as they possibly can, to ensure that even the top 3 that finish in the challenge that could possibly end up with power in the situation. That's not the case this season, but they help out their alliance members to possibly come up with the win, right? All the time. Now, if we get into a situation where this person wins and they may want to ditch their partner, we might got a problem, especially considering we can see the power that one member of a 2-person team can have in terms of the sway of the alliances later on when we talk about who the 4 people that go into interrogation or in deliberation are. And we've seen it already where Jay and Michelle had power last week, and one person loved one person in the partnership, the other one hated the other one or was distrustful of the other one, and the kind of influence that had on it. That was an interesting thing to see it roll out. Multiple moments have made Amber slightly distrust Michelle, which she should, because if there is anybody who is being as sus as possible, it is Michelle right now on this show. This is a byproduct, I believe, of Michelle's paranoia. There are people who are rumoring that Michelle is going after Laurel because of her desire to be with Fessy. We've not seen that on camera at all this season. We do know that Michelle has been in Fessy's bed multiple times. That could be still happening on a regular basis for all we know, especially since a bunch of appointment slots have opened up because Colleen's not on the show anymore, right? And then after what happens on this episode, more appointment slots have opened up. But yeah, which this drove Michelle, the lack of faith and the paranoia drove Michelle to strike a deal, which now that they've won the daily challenge has completely fucked them. They struck a deal with Devin and Tori, who probably should be on their list of people that they go for. Maybe not at the top of it, but yeah, to not throw. Anyway, they made a deal to not throw Devin and Tori into elimination, right? The deal can no longer, that deal in particular, can't happen anymore after this type of episode. Because there are only 10 pairs left. And what's 4 out of 10, folks? 40% of the house is going to go in. And as it goes on, more and more people in the house are going to end up going into elimination as time goes on. Who would have thought? Who would have thought more people end up in elimination? Also, find it a little weird because typically the final ends up with 10 people running it. So you have to wonder, is everybody going to end up running by themselves? We'll find out. That this 1 day deal is what they called it. Can't happen anymore, especially with somebody who's outside of your alliance, which you shouldn't have to have a 1 day deal unless somebody is outside of your alliance. The alliances have to be small to prevent them from being picked off in elimination by each other, because now we've gotten to the point where people got to flip up on each other. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The vets would rather flip up on each other too soon than too late. Nelson showed a little bit of big brain power by making sure that he didn't flip up way too early, maybe 4 episodes too early or something like that. But right now, with 10 pairs left in the house and 40% of the people having their name on the board, and in some cases, those people can be dummies, right? Some of those people, very similar to the Big Brother situation, some of those people are pawns, but what do they say on Big Brother? Pawns go home. Pawns go home. That's just facts. Pawns get played too. The 4 people announced for deliberation, ladies and gentlemen. A drum roll. They swapped out the two pairs that were the gimmies from last week. Kim and Colleen are no longer available. Darrell and Veronica, who got a little talking to by Jay and Michelle about how they're not gunning for them. Darrell and Veronica also had a conversation about how they're waiting for people to come out and embrace them, which I don't think is going to happen because, for the vets to trust you have to have some kind of value to them, right? And Darrell and Veronica, Darrell, highly valued member of an alliance potentially, but Veronica, until they win a daily challenge, they haven't proven themselves to be like legit threats in this game. And I would imagine people are seeing how they perform in comparison to others out there on these daily challenges on a regular basis. So they're seeing them go out there and flop, and we're not. And they're just like, oh, we don't need you on our side. Who knows? Darrell's already talked about how he doesn't know any of these people in the house. Same thing, that's something that actually happened with Bananas, but apparently he's found his way because his partner is Nani, who has a connection to all the new people in the house. So that's helping him out big time. Because I think outside of that, if he was in an alliance with like one other pair, they would be target number one. I don't think many people are like gun-ho to be in an alliance with Bananas anymore. But that's a story for another day. The 4, Casey and Kenny, who go into deliberate, and by the way, the trick here is pretty obvious, right? So we talk about the overall thing, right? Jack and Laurel, they admit that they're the primary target. They went for them last week, they missed. They're trying to make sure that they don't do that. And Jay, I don't know if Jay comes up with this by himself or something like that, or if he takes a page from the book of all the vets who will put him into elimination, but with the ability for the dagger to save 2 of the 3 people who go up to the platform, and you controlling who is the person that is guaranteed to go into elimination, you have your primary target, Jack and Laurel, and then the 3 that go up to the stones to pick up the daggers, Casey and Kenny, Bananas and Nani, Anessa and Jordan. It's essentially a 2v1. If you don't understand the relationship, Nani is dating Casey. They are in a relationship. They have been for almost 2 years now. They started dating on the show. Like Casey took Nani on a challenge date where they legit, like the production team, like set food aside for him and had him go out to a gazebo and look out all beautiful and stuff like that at the pool and everything like that. They were trying to make this happen. It is still happening. Casey just finished winning the challenge, so she's got a lot of sway with a lot of people who are powerful in the house, including the top alliance now, which is Big Brother. Nani and Casey in a relationship. Guess who? If they're pulling the safe dagger, one of the 2 of them is going to pick, each other, and the other team is going to go down. The chances that Anessa and Jordan get lucky enough to pick the safe dagger are extremely low. But there is still a chance. Yes, I am telling you there is still a chance. Casey and Kenny get upset because they're talking about ruffling feathers and all this kind of stuff like that. Casey talks about how you're ruffling multiple feathers. Apparently a lot of people don't like Kenny, by the way. They say he's bland. He hasn't said anything. I don't think maybe he's just not good in the diary entries. Also, I will point out he is a ride or die. So like, it wasn't like he was begging to come onto the show with his sister. Maybe she asked him and he just felt like he had to say yes kind of deal. And it was an opportunity to get something started for him and maybe he'll come back. Because like, for instance, like Nuri seems like a prime candidate to come back even if she's not attached to Nelson. So it's an opportunity. It really is. It's an audition and you get kind of introduced in and stuff like that. Maybe Kenny will become a factor later on in the season, but as of right now, a lot of people on the show are not fans of how... people weren't fans of Casey because Casey seems to make up beef with people, and she don't really be out here, entertaining the folks. And at the end of the day, the people are here to be entertained, and the champ is not entertaining. I will point out Casey is probably one of the most dominant players in the history of this game very early on in her career. Maybe that will change later on, but as of right now, she's one of the most dominant players in the game when it comes to this. She's one of the most desired partners in a partner situation for everyone, and that's the thing. Jack and Laurel are the primary target. They're, of course, pissed off. I'm actually surprised they talked in deliberation this time. Laurel tried to pretend to be cool with everything that was going on and said that when they come back, I would look to try and be cool with you. Jack laughed because he knew that Laurel was lying. I'm pretty sure everybody else in that room knew Laurel was lying as well. Laurel has made it very clear that she is not in cahoots with Michelle. She has said multiple times in diary entries, and I'm sure Michelle's seen it by now, she wants Michelle to go away and shut up. Bananas and Nani comes in making empty threats, talking about, look, if I or Casey end up going home, I'm coming for you guys. They're not coming for anyone. They haven't done well since they won that challenge in episode 2. Bananas admits that he hates Jay. Congratulations, Jay hates you, Bananas. So it's pretty cool. It's good to know. It's good to know that we're all on the same page in terms of like, the vets don't like Michelle and Jay. Isn't it weird how everybody, like, and this goes for the people online, all of the vets who have been gunning for Jay, and I'll point this out, I've mentioned it already, Jay's been into elimination 4 different times. People have spent years playing Jay. Trying to play him like a punk for years. And now he's got back-to-back challenges. He let Michelle have control of last week. This week, he was in charge, and he went for and put up the people that he really wanted to get rid of. And I think in my heart of hearts, I think we all know that Jay wanted to go after Bananas and Nany. But Michelle still has this attachment to Nany that extends to outside of the game. Jay don't give a shit about that. Jay was talking about how he knows if he puts Casey on this board, she'll never trust him again, and he was okay with doing that. Jay is perfectly okay with people not liking him. Case in point, Anessa and Jordan come into a deliberation. Anissa's like, oh, they're trying to fuck us and put us into elimination. It's like, oh, really? What a familiar feeling. I'm sure you can wouldn't it be nice to be able to talk to somebody who's been in a similar situation? Maybe you should talk to Jay. Maybe you should talk to Michelle. This is all those times that they put him into elimination. They treated him like crap. They lied to their faces. Come to fruition. And I don't know why everybody sitting at home is so upset about revenge. You new to this? You new to this show? You must not have ever been here before. There are so many. Every single person that is listed on these 4 is a direct enemy to Jay and Michelle. They are all in the vet alliance that if they had power is putting. So here we go. Casey gets power. She putting Jack and Laurel up? We don't know. She putting Bananas and Nany up? We know that's not happening. Casey putting up Anessa and Jordan? Maybe. Not very high, not likely, especially when Darrell and Veronica are available to put up. Especially when the number one real target in the house for everybody who's not in their alliance is Horacio and Olivia. Because every single week they're getting closer to winning. And guess what? If the Outsiders Alliance wins the next 3 out of 4, they're sending home back-to-back vet pairs. And the vets' numbers are dwindling drastically. They're trying to go into these interrogations, they're trying to go into the deliberations and make Jay and Michelle feel like shit for doing what they would do to them if they could. Now they're going to come back and they're going to use what happened the last 2 weeks as a reason to go after Jay and Michelle. Guess what, Jay and Michelle? They were already coming for you, bro. They were already coming to eliminate you. If they could have their way, they would eliminate your entire alliance before they eliminate these 4 people that are on here. 3 of these 4 people that are on here. All of them. They do not care. By the way, that IOU from Michelle's week where they didn't put Bananas and Nany into elimination, that's gone. In case you couldn't tell based off of the way that Bananas talked about how he wants to vomit in Jay's face. He's felt like that. He admitted it during the diaries. And I don't know what would compel Jay to listen to Michelle on that, because you could tell he knew that that's not happening. His number one goal has been to get Bananas out of this game as soon as possible, because he knows that Bananas is going to come for him. And he had the opportunity twice to put Bananas into elimination and still couldn't get it done. These people were already mad. They're just mad that they've gone from the hunters to the hunted. It's not how Jay and Michelle are playing the game. It's not that they're making bad moves. Yeah, last week they made terrible moves because they listened to Michelle. But this week, all 4 of these people, oh yeah, they on the chopping block. All 4 of these people don't care if any of them come back. If any of these combination of people get eliminated, it is a win. Last week, that wasn't necessarily the case, because last week they put Kim and Colleen, people that they could have brought to their side. They put Darrell and Veronica, people who were being rejected by the vets, they could have brought to their side, into an elimination and potentially affected their relationship. They started the trend of getting Darrell and Veronica's name said. It's very simple what's going on. And I don't know why you guys are pretending that it's anything else. It's them versus us. It's the outsiders versus the cool kids. And the cool kids are always going to save the cool kids. And the outsiders, despite having Michelle amongst their numbers, who is easily the most distrustworthy person in their alliance, they are going to save each other. They have to, or it will increase the likelihood drastically that they will be eliminated by so very much. Anyway, that I saw the discourse online about how, oh man, like all the vets are upset and they're whining in the diary entries. Yeah, they should be. Because they sucked in the last two challenges and they got beat by two people that they know that they have treated like shit. This is like a servant this is like the servant of a king finding out he's the actual heir to the throne and then becoming the king. And the number one person who should be concerned should be the king who treated the servant like shit. So that's life. Anyway, like I said before, I thought we was about revenge around here. I thought we was about the drama. And I would love to see what people think that Jay and Michelle should have done, because their target was one group of people. They got him out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Jordan tries to rile up Jay, and he successfully does. Jay says he doesn't care. Jordan calls him weak. Jay gets upset. He's like, stop calling me weak, bro. Honestly, the second that he calls you weak, he's like, well, we'll see how weak I am when you're in elimination. So, yeah, Jordan's just upset that his name keeps getting called. He's doing all this hype stuff or whatever. They haven't done anything except do really well in that skyscraper, the hanging over the edge skyscraper one. Everything else has been a struggle. And so we'll see how well they do a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, Jay does what I think is one of the best moments of the entire show. He, one, is going at Bananas, like intentionally, and then also goes at Jordan, two of the best guys that have ever competed in the show, and Jordan calls him weak, and he's like, well, do you want to be the main vote? Like, he asked him, like, up front, you want to be the main vote kind of deal? And it's funny to me, because I think that's the appropriate response, where it's like, don't forget, dude, like, I could change my plans very easily to make your life suck. As a matter of fact, I might do that because I dislike you that much. But yeah, that was pretty dope. The deliberation was actually really good. Actually, back-to-back weeks of the deliberation being very good, because it's not people who are trying to endear themselves to the vets that are in power. It is the people who have been pushed around. It is the group of people who have finally gotten ahead, and by the way, in a house that seems to be split down the middle in terms of the alliance. We'll talk about that later. The turn up, ladies and gentlemen, let me click on that slide so we can all be sad together. So there's no turn up this episode. It's actually very sad. I was super bummed because Devin has been killing it inside the parties so far. But I will point out, there is slut shaming to make up for it. Horacio says Fessy's been around because he's been hanging out with Laurel, and he would hate for Laurel to get caught up in that. Interesting. Very interesting slut shaming. But I will point out, Fessy does also give us TV gold by saying, does Horacio hug you like this? As he cozies up to Laurel, knowing that the cameras and the microphones are on. You love to see it. You really do. Just immaculate. These guys are so good. They've gotten that's what it means to be a vet. They've gotten so much better. They've gotten so much better as time has gone on. I love it. I really do. Whatever you have to say about Fessy has gotten very good at, one, pissing people off to the point where they do wild things on the show, and then two, in the challenges he's gotten a lot better overall, and then he's also done a good job of making like absolute TV gold that makes people roll their fucking eyes. My girlfriend rolled her eyes when she saw that scene, and I honestly, that's how I knew it was amazing. I'm sure that they all were laughing their asses off during the edit because they knew that it was just like, that's going in no matter what. And it has become a meme. It has become a meme, understandably so. Shout out to Fessy for that moment that we all appreciated. Now, let's talk about some more serious things. The elimination. The elimination is in your face, which is actually really fitting for the kind of beef that Jay and Michelle have generated inside the house, because it seems like winning back-to-back challenges, and I always wonder, do they name the eliminations before or after they know who's going up? Because I will point out, they clearly knew who was going into, or either they had a bunch of replicas of this face, and I'll explain the elimination a little bit later, They had a bunch of everybody's faces, and they put them all on the board based off who went into elimination, or they knew who was going in beforehand, or something like that. But In Your Face is very funny because it definitely matches the energy that Jay and Michelle had. Well, Jay in particular, because Michelle spent a bunch of time apologizing inside the house. When, you don't have to apologize when you're on top, because nobody's ever come to apologize to you. So I don't know why you're extending that courtesy to other people. Michelle also has a scene where she's crying about Nany, who put her into elimination. I just want to point out, I keep making this reference, like, you can talk about how good of friends you are, but you're clearly not good enough friends for her to protect you when she has an opportunity to. She could have said so many other names, she chose to say yours. That's intentional. That was when there was more people in the house, and she chose to say your name. Like, you're not, maybe you are friends outside of the house, but you can't be that good of friends, because she has friends that are inside the house and she's protecting. Anyway, elimination's called In Your Face. Jay and Michelle pick Jordan and Anessa, which is a direct reflection of how deliberation can fuck you over, because they were not a part of they were a part of the plan. They were a part of the swap of the plan, and Jordan and Anessa, their locations in the plan just changed up. So Jordan and Anessa gets selected automatically by the winners of the daily, Jay and Michelle, and that puts up on the podium 3 people: Jack and Laurel, Casey and Kenny, Nany and Bananas. Nany and Bananas pull the dagger immediately, as you can see. The dagger chose Nany and Bananas. There we go. And then Nany and Bananas chose Casey and Kenny, like we all thought. Nany protected her girlfriend like she should. Like, there was no question about it. Very rare opportunity to be able to pull that off, where you have people who are dating of the same gender on the show, because that actually pans out pretty well in terms of gender-based eliminations, which this one was not, because there's 50-50 pairs, right? Like, there's no male-male pairs. There's only lady-lady pairs. Anyway, the elimination turns up. You carry a pile of what looked to be a cube of 4x4 cinder blocks. So what is that? 16 times 4, right? 4x4, 16, and then 4 down on there. Makes it 27. Anyway, it was a bunch of cinder blocks in the shape of a cube. You carry them from one side of the challenge elimination, or the zone, as they're calling it, to a platform that has the ability to release a bunch of miniature soccer balls that I couldn't tell how much weight they had to them. It seemed like they had a sizable amount of weight to them. Anyway, once you move all the cinder blocks from one side to the other, they release a series of miniature soccer balls. Your partner goes up to, once you and your partner move all the cinder blocks, you get all the balls off or whatever, your partner goes up to the series of faces of the challengers that are on the show. So on Jordan and Anessa's side, it is only Jack and Laurel. And on the side where Laurel and Jack are, it's only Jordan and Anessa. Laurel is chosen to throw the soccer balls at the different faces, while Anessa is defending against Laurel. Jordan is throwing at Jack, who is defending for their team. First team to knock out all 10 of the faces, which they also did a good job of setting them on fire, except one. They set them all on fire after you throw a ball through them, which I think they doused them with some form of accelerant or something flammable, and then set them on fire afterwards. You could see it on the camera a little bit, but yeah, it was pretty funny. Anyway, they set them on fire, very fitting for the situation, and then the first to finish off 10 of them wins. Jordan shows up. The first throw, if you've ever played any sports whatsoever, Jordan has damn near perfect throwing motion in terms of what a baseball player uses to field a ball. And then he in the diary is just it's like I'm back at baseball practice. And there you go, textbook. Laurel, on the other hand, former Division I athlete, she had kind of a shot put type motion, except it did arc a little bit, which was the problem. Her throws were inaccurate because she didn't follow through on very many of her throws, and so it weakened it reduced the amount of power that she could generate, and then two, it put an arc on the throw instead of making it as close to possible to a straight line to go straight through it, because a lot of her shots hit off the rim of the little circles and stuff like that, so it hindered them from being successful. As time goes on, Jordan is cheering on Jack, the guy who's defending against him, saying that he's doing a good job of defending him and everything like that. Jack actually feels like really encouraged by that, which is nice by Jordan. Once again, nice guy Jordan is the star of many episodes that we've seen so far. But nonetheless, Jordan and Jack duke it out. Jordan is killing Jack, hitting him on the, making him run side to side as much as possible to make him tired for when he goes for the middle, making him go from one side of the set of 10 faces to the other where he immediately attacks, because it's easier for, especially Jordan had one loaded up in his hand, in his non-fingered hand, right? He had one that he was throwing in his right hand with fingers, ripping it through there, and if he missed with that one, he immediately picked up the other one, went the opposite direction. He got down to the last one, and Jordan continues what I can only call one of the best streaks in the challenge of giving the people what they want. He does everything but flick off Jay and Michelle while they're standing on the podium for the winners. And with his final ball, with Jack standing directly in front of the face, says, "I told you so," and throws it right through it. Don't know what the hell happened with Jack in terms of realizing there was only one face left and all he had to do was hold his hand up. Maybe it was the angle that the ball was thrown at, but Jordan nails it. Absolutely flawless moment. Everybody blows up on Twitter. It's amazing to watch. It was very, very, very much like one of the closest moments to being a professional sport that the challenge has had on it. Also, we now live in a challenge world where the man with one hand has now won a tug of war with against a person with two hands and won a throwing competition. So yeah, the flex, the hardest of flexes. Oh, by the way, this win for Jordan and Anessa does two things. Anessa ascends the legend ladder. She gets her 11th elimination win, although she does have the most elimination losses. She's now at 500 in total on her career. She is one of 4 people in the history of the challenge to have double-digit elimination wins. She holds the most elimination losses by women, like I mentioned before, but she is also 3rd overall in terms of elimination victories, tied with Johnny Bananas. One of the GOATs, one of the greatest to ever do it at multiple phases of her life. Jordan is now 8-2 in eliminations. If he wins 2 more, he will become the 5th person ever to win 10 eliminations in the history of the challenge. The first vet has been eliminated since Turbo and Tamara went home at the end of episode 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, at the end of episode 2. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to unveil something that is very important to me. The new top 10 rankings. So we went from doing the top bottoms, or the new tops and the old bottoms, right? Number 1, we had Fessy Mariah. Number 2, we had Nelson and Nuri. Number 3, we had Casey and Kenny. Number 4, Devin and Tori. Anessa and Jordan were number 5. They just won an elimination, showing one that maybe we were just right. Jack and Laurel was 7th. Amber and Chauncey were 8th. Horacio and Olivia, 9th. Darrell and Veronica were 10th. And Jay and Michelle, on the assumption that they were not going to win back-to-back, 11th on my power rankings. Now, the new top 10, because there's only 10 pairs left, which means there are 20 people in total left in the house. Let's look at it. Oh, that's the old tops one. There we go. The new top 10. Fessy and Mariah, they seem almost untouchable because not only did their alliance win back-to-back challenges, making them quite formidable. Fessy won one and then Nelson won immediately after that, but he's also got a ton of connections. Fessy's got Nelson and Nuri on his side, got Casey and Kenny, which subsequently means in some small way, in shape or form, they have Bananas and Nani. Casey and Kenny, on the other hand, Casey and Kenny have the same benefits going for them. Nobody's really gunning for them. Even this episode where they ended up in the 4, they were down in the pit, it is solely because they wanted to use Casey as a way to pull Nani out, and they wanted Nani to use as a way to pull Casey out to force the matchup that they wanted. But let's be for real, they didn't care if either one of them went into elimination. That would have been far more dramatic. Horacio and Olivia are here at number 4. They seem to have proven themselves to be one of the most formidable partner pairs in this one. And now with the back-to-backs from Jay and Michelle, they've been safe for a couple of weeks. Have to wonder, do people immediately turn their attention to trying to go for Horacio and Olivia, or do they immediately go for Jay and Michelle? If they go for Jay and Michelle, Horacio and Olivia are going to be safe for another week. They also buys them another week to win one of these daily challenges and keep Jay and Michelle safe, which makes them number 5 in this one. These are 2 pairs that have, one, Horacio and Olivia and Jay and Michelle have been in 3 of the last 4 top 4s. So in heat number 1 and heat number 2, they've both been victorious in one of the heats. Anessa and Jordan at number 6, they showed everybody why they are formidable. Laurel is one of the best challenge competitors ever, and they sent her home what looked to be relatively easy for them, and that is going to keep everybody out there sent for a while. They obviously have connections to Tori and Devin, which is going to help them in the long run. Bananas and Nani, they seem like they've got Jay's attention. Full and undivided attention for the time being. So you have to wonder how safe they're going to be if Horacio and Olivia get any form of power, Jay and Michelle get any form of power, and obviously if Amber and Chauncey get any form of power, you have to wonder how safe all these guys are going to be, considering that they're all in an alliance together. Devin and Tori, Devin blowing it in the puzzle situation is a little tough for me. In this one, Devin and Tori did do well in the Royal Relay. They won one of the heats, which helped the vets get into a situation where they could potentially end up winning a daily challenge, showing that they got a little bit more in the tank than just like the big brain up here for Devin. Obviously, Tori, one of the best athletes in the entire house. Devin is rated as one of the worst athletes in the house for a multitude of reasons, but clearly showing his stuff in the Royal Relay. You can't outthink your way in terms of having to swim a long distance and then row a boat. Amber and Chauncey, they have not made any moves whatsoever. They're also off people's radar completely. They are in an alliance that is going to be immediately under attack if they don't win every single daily challenge, which is the same thing for the vets, right? But they also do have a snake in their midst in Michelle. So there's that. Amber and Chauncey were also spoken about in deliberation as dead weight by Jay. So even in their own alliance, they are technically under duress and under threat, and that's why they're number 9 in this situation. Number 10, Darrell and Veronica, because they're easy names to say. It does not seem like anybody has endeared themselves enough to Darrell and Veronica to welcome them into their alliance. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all I got. I'm done, for real. I'm done rambling. Shout out to everybody who listens to this show now in the future, whether it be the distant future or the near future. Obviously, I would like the near future, and I would also like to take some time right now to shout out our newest member of the Safe Crackers. I am Hurricane Pride X. Go follow him on Twitch. He's a COD player, and by the way, in case you're wondering, call him the Safe Crackers because, this is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast, and as I've mentioned before, this is all a scam. This is all a scam to try and get a $100 million podcasting contract from some podcasting platform and do this for as long as it takes to get that $100 million and then disappear forever. So I'm out. You're done. It's time, ladies and it's time for us to part ways until tomorrow when we do the NFL recap episode of Week 11. Because you guessed it, our matchup, our battle versus time, we will not be doing it on Thursday because of Thanksgiving. So I'll be recapping Week 11 of the NFL season, what it means for each one of the teams, what happened in each one of the games, which means after I turn this stream off, I will be going back to watching all of the games and getting back on that. I also have a meeting that I'm supposed to be going to here in a couple of seconds, so we'll see how that goes. Be kind. Wash your hands, wash your ass, be nice to people. Also, bundle up, it's a little cold outside, and do good.